like a Sims character, like the way you execute tasks a lot of the time is pretty routine. Like you have a kind of scripted way that you compose certain interactions, like being in the shower, you have the exact same cleaning routine every time, so you can scrub the certain parts of your body in a certain order. You know, getting dressed maybe, does it extend to that? You put the same sock on, the same foot every time, like first every time. You know, does that make sense? You put the same sock on first every time. Ooh, an avalanche. Well, that's not very relaxing, is it? But life can be pretty unrelaxing, so. My neighbor just came home and I thought it was my partner. I thought I would have to explain to my partner why I'm standing over the sink doing dishes with my phone strapped to my chest. Hi honey, I'm home. What are you doing? Oh, you know, I'm just making a video for YouTube of me doing the dishes and talking. And doing other things too. Hoovering. You know? Did I just throw this out? Oh, there's still some in there. I guess it was intended to go back in the cupboard, perhaps? Let's try it. Back in the cupboard. Okay. The thing is, when you leave bowls out on the counter with the lid on, they smell like fungus. After a couple of days, it doesn't take long, maybe even overnight. You can smell the fungus thriving in there, the algae, I believe. Or algae, as I've called it my whole life. But I do feel like there's some precedent with that. When a scientist says, you know, I study algae, I'm a scientist who studies algae, that maybe it's actually pronounced algae and not algae, as I grew up saying it, and everyone around me said it, algae, algae. I think even on TV, possibly, like on a, you know, ooh, that's gross. On a nature documentary, you know, like the algal blooms of algae. Is that a thing? Did anyone ever say it like that? On TV? Maybe. But then I did hear someone the other day say fungi. And it's for mushrooms, you know, the family of mushrooms. Fungi. If it's actually pronounced fungi, I don't want to say it anymore. I'll just say mushrooms. I will make sure I never need to use the word fungi. Ah! Fungi. It's fungi, because then you can make that joke, you know? Why did the mushroom go to the party? Because he was a fungi. It doesn't really work if you say fungi. Let's say fungi? What's fungi? And anyway, I thought it was fungi. See, yeah. But a scientist, one scientist said fungi, and now, based on my code of ethics, how I move through my own life, I now have to pronounce it that way till the day I die. And I'll never say anything different. Fungi for life. Anyway, there's always this really gross kind of like forbidden ramen at the bottom of your sink when you're done washing up. A bit of eggshell in there and some hair and some like flower tendrils. There's an orchid up here. We found it in a car park. It was smashed. Someone had obviously got into their car and they were juggling this thing around. And it fell on the ground and smashed. I mean, it probably needs water. Yeah, you know what? I'll give it a little water. I know I'm gonna get absolutely slated for the way that I water orchids and maybe do dishes. Perhaps. If you're here to do that, I'll take friendly pointers. I won't respond to people slagging the way I do dishes. I do dishes this way. It's my house. I mean, it's not my house, it's my landlord's house. And I'm never gonna have any equity on this fucking thing, but... This is kind of odd. Sometimes I wish I had a camera strapped to my chest in everyday life. Just for thoughts and feelings and emotions as they come up. Because a lot of the time I feel like I spend so long trying to act like a human that I forget to have real emotions. If I strap the camera to myself, I could watch them back and be like, oh, I'm happy there. Maybe I should try and look out for happiness as a thing. I mean, this chair needs to get vacuumed. I think maybe I should hoover the chair in this room. And the hoover's already out because today is tidying day. Every fucking day is tidying day, but today is like the day where we tidy consciously. And we put a camera on our chest and film ourselves tidying. So we can pull this out, and then you can grab this attachment, which actually has a little bit of fuzz on it right now. There we go. That can sit in there for a second. Ah, there it goes on the floor. And now we hoover. Very therapeutic about this style of hoovering. You see the colour come back? It's a beautiful thing. Maybe I'll time lapse that. Now you see you have lots of this schmutz on here. So we can throw that in there. Gone. One more little zap. It's gone. And that's that. I do need to hoover out this table also. This is where we keep our placemats, and a lot of the time I can be pretty lazy with these. Maybe I should stop doing that. So I can use the long attachment. I hoovered the inside of anything. You know, how often do you open drawers, empty them out, and hoover them out? Has that ever happened? Maybe it's happened recently, but I haven't hoovered the drawers. They don't usually get quite so crummy. So that's a pretty crummy drawer. And then we say goodbye to this. And we have a table. Fold these to the best of my ability. And we remember to breathe. I found recently with breathing, for the longest time I was pretty resistant to just trying to breathe more consciously throughout the day. And then I actually started doing it, and it turns out it makes a big difference actually. I just found a fortune cookie, fortune. It says, don't be afraid of fear. Okay, maybe someone will get something from that. I already wiped the island today, so actually I can just put my cast iron back on the oven, which we just got fixed. A repair guy just came over. The oven that we had before also had the same problem. The ignition engine was gone, or the igniter. Motor, ignition engine. This is not a tractor. The igniter, kind of the box that controls how the igniters click. You know, because the clicking is the spark that creates an arc between, I guess, does it? The pieces of metal, maybe? I should Google that. But the point is, it wasn't clicking for nearly 2 years. And so our landlord replaced the oven, and the new one arrived and also didn't click, which I think is a weird issue because on Google, there's not a lot of information because people assume that it's just not plugged in and the light was working inside the oven and the oven itself was working and the hobs could be lit with a blowtorch. And I do love using a blowtorch. But it's maybe not the most efficient way to light a gas stove, nor the safest, I imagine. So, I'm gonna fill the Brita. And while I do that, I'll wipe the sink down. So our landlord replaced our tap recently with one of these. So that was pretty cool. Our old one was pretty low, stuck out to sort of around here, and it was this height, so you could never quite get a chopping board in there or anything large. This is still a horrendously cheap piece of plastic. Yeah, it's literally plastic. And it's horrendously cheap, but for us it feels like an upgrade. And when you live in rented accommodation, I think anything working is an upgrade from the usual MO, which is that nothing works. And most things have quirks to them. And by living somewhere, you are choosing to begin a social contract with that apartment to learn the quirks and either get over it, or if you have a good landlord, which we don't have a terrible landlord. He's still a landlord given, but he's not bad. He doesn't just let himself into our apartment when he wants to, or, anything freaky like that. He kind of leaves us alone. Okay, so now the Brita fills for a long time. But we'll wait. This is your Brita break. Take a Brita break with me. And once this section draws down from this reservoir here, we'll fill it again. And you probably have to do it another 1.5 times. If you can see the camera moving, panning in and panning out slightly, like the jaws move maybe, it's because I'm breathing deeply. Filling my chest up, my lungs are expanding, and I think that's how breathing works. I should also Google that. I feel like something that ADHD does, or possibly it's just a unique experience to me, but let me know if you experience the same thing, is when you're an adult having these occurrences where you realize, I didn't know, I'd never really had to think about that thing, like breathing. I've never consciously thought about breathing before. There are things like that, and sense of smell. Sense of smell feels like something so kind of large. It's like learning a language when you want to learn to discern smells. I say that to put it in context. I really enjoy tasting wine, and I would love to get some kind of qualification with tasting wine, sommelier, something. But I realize my palate isn't great because I don't practice. And I know it's like anything, it's a muscle that you exercise, but I feel like a lot of powerful smells come back to you when you have a memory attached to them, right? So my theory is if you grow up not really eating different foods or trying new spices or trying, very flavorful dishes young. So if you grow up anywhere except England, you're probably okay. But in England, we don't really eat interesting food growing up. You have kind of chicken Kiev, beans, chips, like a jacket potato maybe, lasagna, always a frozen lasagna, or sometimes a homemade one, but you got the sauce, like the two sauces, there's a red sauce and a white sauce, but they're both in jars and they're both ambient temperature. So it's kind of creeps me out, because then you come to New York and everything's got ricotta. It's got like 3 inches of ricotta on each layer. It looks like a fucking Vienna thing. What is it called? A Viennetta? Viennetta, maybe, that cake, the ice cream cake that's kind of swirled and dimpled or whatever. Anyway. So the less you eat growing up, the less you explore complex tastes and flavors. the less you train your olfactory system and the less you attach memories to that olfactory system. I'm not sure how an olfactory system works. I only learned the word the other day. But then in your adulthood, it takes longer for you to learn languages and pick up new skills. So why wouldn't it be the same for your olfactory system, nerve, olfactory memory? You know, if you don't have a ton of source material to draw from, and childhood smells and memories attached to smells can be very powerful, and probably more powerful than a lot of adult memories, unless that's just me. Maybe I put more weight on my childhood memories than my adult memories. I wonder why. Maybe other people do that. I don't know. Anyway, this was the Brita break. Sorry. We still got a little time. I'll be quiet. Let's have 30 seconds of breathing. Is that about 30 seconds? Is my internal clock just completely broken? Felt like 30 seconds. I guess I'll check when I unstrap my phone from my chest and import this footage. Oh, this here is a burn that I got from making tarte tatin. You know, the thing with apples. You know, you put a load of apples face down or whatever, and it's like an upside down cake or something. Not quite, because you slice it, I guess. And I was making that, and I had the apples, or the caramel bubbling away, I suppose, and then you add the apples in, but maybe I could have lowered them in, but instead I tipped the bowl and, this can all be kind of reset back to normal. I do need to give these spring onions some love. I need to give these plants all a little bit of love. This one's got a few little crispies on here, a bubblegum plant, I believe. This basil, don't look at it, it's extremely dead. These string of pearls are doing okay. This one just never seems to be doing good at all, and maybe it needs more light. If anyone knows about string of pearls, I try my best to look after it. I untangle it every week, it feels at this point, and then it just gets tangled again and starts kind of dropping all the seeds everywhere. But I'm very gentle with it, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's the light, the amount of light. Indirect. I have some basil here. Ooh, we just lost a leaf. Yeah, all of this needs a good amount of attention. This basil's doing okay, but for some reason, I feel like the roots on supermarket basil aren't the same right now. They seem to give them with already chopped roots, or they've suffocated the roots with little bags, or, I feel like you used to put them in a pot overnight, and by the next day they'd be pretty strong white roots already, but hey, anyway, a few leaves here. Let's get these gone. And the reason the bin looks like this is because I'm about to take it out, so thanks for joining me on this journey. Make sure you hydrate. I hope you have a great day. Drink water, stay clean, stay safe, and try journaling. Try actually journaling. Like, if you're like me, you've tried journaling, but you haven't. Try journaling. Just try writing stuff down and sit and breathe and let thoughts happen. And as those thoughts happen, feel out which ones you feel compelled to write down. And if it's nothing, then that's okay. Just write anyway. Write some nonsense. Write a little story about a little snail in a sports car. Something like that. And the sun just came out. I'm sure the exposure does it absolutely no justice, but it's a beautiful day, so go out there and have one as well.